A major clean-up effort is underway on the Fraser coast as floodwaters, which inundated several towns, begin to subside. The Mary River peaked at 10 metres in Maryborough overnight, impacting hundreds of homes and businesses. Authorities say it could be days before they know the full extent of the damage, with some communities remaining cut off.
In Maryborough's CBD, the worst is over, but now the big clean-up begins.
It came up through the back and all through the basement, and we've got about 8 foot of water in the bottom, which is still full, and we've got about probably 6 inches or more in the top area.
It's just unfortunate that those floodgates under the levee failed, so yeah, basement is completely flooded.
The council worked through the night, pumping water out of the city centre as the flood peaked at 10 metres.
I'm extremely relieved. We are in a serious situation still. This is a major flood. We've got communities that are isolated, communities that have been very hard hit, small communities, but certainly the flood did not peak at the level that was anticipated.
With barely any notice and grabbing just a few keepsakes, Kim Ward evacuated her home on Saturday. She fears she's lost everything.
I managed to get an aerial view. It was up to the roof, so I'm in a low-set house, so it's all gone.
There'll be a lot of properties that have been affected, but it's really how many buildings, how many households that have been inundated that we'll really need to focus on.
These men were on a boat being washed away down the Mary River. They dropped the anchor before almost flipping a smaller boat.
We've performed over 70 rescues. We've had also over 200 SES tasking jobs, which have included over 10 or around 10 floodboat jobs as well.
While the water is receding here, there are still towns cut off, including an area near Gympie where a 14-year-old girl remains missing after being swept away.
It is an extremely difficult area surrounded by water, which has created hindrances to our search effort, and aerial support has been provided, but at this stage it's been unsuccessful.
Police say they hold grave fears for the girl. Johanna Marie, ABC News, Maryborough.
Remarkable stories of survival are emerging from flood-ravaged areas around Gympie in southeast Queensland. A father and daughter have been discharged from hospital after spending 2 nights clinging to a tree when their car was swept away, while a Brisbane family rode out the torrents by tying a tinny to a power pole.
The Shoemakers know how lucky they are to be holding each other. The Brisbane family's holiday to Gladstone took a harrowing turn on Friday night when they were met with rising floodwaters at Wallooga, northwest of Gympie.
We hit the river. Couldn't cross it. It was raging.
With roads around them cut off, Father Troy Shoemaker sought higher ground, bunkering down alongside 2 other vehicles. But the water kept rising.
A family next to us was in a low-lying car. They knocked on our windows about 1 a.m. and said, "Oh, have you got any spare seats? Can we get the boat floating?"
The family launched their tinny, taking the other 2 stranded carloads of people with them.
Put 9 people in the boat, and we tied up to that power pole over across the road and just sat there in driving rain with a bilge pump on the whole night.
The group called emergency services, but it was too hazardous to attempt a rescue.
They said, "No, it's too rough. Too dangerous, we can't get you."
At daylight, they made it to dry ground and into the caring hands of locals Phil and Chris Stanford.
But as they come to coast to me, the kids were all terrified. So I said, "Well, quick, you better hop in and I'll take you up home."
The Stanfords have provided food and shelter for the 3 families for the last 2 days.
Very lucky, yeah, and especially lucky that they had a boat, because if they didn't have a boat, I think, it might have been a different story.
There are more stories of survival emerging across the region. A father and his young daughter survived 2 days stuck in a tree near Gympie after their car was washed away on Friday night. After floodwaters receded, the pair managed to climb 10 metres down the tree and walk to a nearby property for help. They were airlifted to hospital, suffering exposure, dehydration and insect bites. Police still don't know how many people may need assistance, with a telecommunications outage causing headaches across the region.
I still have people stranded on properties that I'm trying to get to. The roads are washed away.
But for the shoemakers, heading home has never felt so good.
I think the family a bit scarred us, but yeah, we're lucky. We lost the car, lost the cruiser, but you know, we still got it. We didn't lose a life, so pretty important.
Meg Bolton, ABC News, Wulluga.
Tropical Cyclone Tiffany has made landfall in far north Queensland, hitting Cape York Peninsula earlier today. The cyclone crossed the coast near Cowan just before midday as a Category 2 system, but it was downgraded to a Category 1 in the afternoon. The Weather Bureau is warning communities north of Port Douglas to expect heavy rain, thunderstorms and wind gusts of up to 130 kilometres per hour.
There is the potential we could see some isolated falls in that 200 to 300 millimetre range, so quite likely to see some flash flooding and potentially some riverine flooding as well across the far north.
The system is expected to weaken while it tracks west before re-intensifying over the Gulf of Carpentaria over the next 24 hours.